Look at this. We have finally succeeded. I have finally succeeded. The stream seems to be running. I am so sorry, guys, for this unexpected and overly long wait. And I thank you for your patience, the two of you that are still in the live stream. I was having some major technical issues with the connection between the camera and my computer for um, transferring the image to this live stream, which just wasn't working for half an hour, more than half an hour, nearly 40 minutes for some reason. And it just worked like half an hour before the stream when I tested it, and then it just stopped working. So I'm terribly sorry for this happening, and I thank you for your patience in sticking with me and sticking around for this live stream. So finally online, thank you so much for being here. Let us know, guys, where you're watching from. So usually it's the same old faces here in the live stream. So let us know who's watching. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know when your last dive was, and let us know about your best underwater experience this week, if you had any, or this month, if that fits better. And we'll start getting slowly into today's stream. There's not a lot that we have to or that I want to talk about, but there is certainly a few things about the recent boat show that I was attending, and I was able to talk to a few interesting people, meet some partners again, and yeah, just did some planning and stuff for the foreseeable future when it comes to trips and stuff. So quite a few interesting things that were happening there at the boat show. If you have followed some of my boat show coverage, you probably know that or you probably know who I have been talking to, and sort of the interviews that I led throughout the boat show. We'll get into that a little bit more in detail. We have Johnny from Sweden. Hello, Johnny. And we've got Juhani from Finland. Hello, guys. Great to have you here. And Juhani just says that he has tested the new UvaCam app. I'm guessing that's the one that he's referring to for freediving training, and it was looking good. That's very cool, Juhani. I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you so much for that feedback. Keep using the app. Keep letting us know if you find something that is not okay or that needs improvement. But we also obviously always like to receive positive feedback of people saying that they're enjoying the app and that it's working fine. So that's obviously a nice thing. Thank you so much. If you guys don't know what Juhani is talking about, I will just put a link in the comment section. This is a new app that we have developed. I haven't developed it, but I was part of the core team that was working on the app. It's an app that is specifically made for the use with the Divefox C Touch for Max Plus housings. It is a camera app, but it is specifically designed in a way so that it comes with really big buttons, a clear interface, and very simple ways of using the app when you're underwater and you have your phone inside the housing. So usually when you use these apps or apps in the past on your phone, camera apps, they were not optimized for the use with like a membrane in front of it and underwater. So the buttons are rather small, and sometimes they're put into the corners. So through the membrane, it's sometimes really hard to push those buttons and push them accurately. Now, this is like the main purpose of UvaCam, solving that problem. So it makes it easier to use all the functions of your camera underwater, of your phone's camera underwater, being able to use it to its full potential. It's kind of like a Blackmagic camera app, but specifically made for use underwater. So it has all the professional features that you would ever want, with more to come. I can't really reveal what is coming next. But there is some cool things that are in the process of being implemented in the app, and that should be published in the app in the next couple of weeks. I can just give you kind of the keyword AI, and for the rest, you'll just have to wait a few more weeks to see what we are preparing and bringing to the UvaCam app. So that's what Juhani has been or was talking about in his comment. And that was obviously also one thing that we did at the boat show in Düsseldorf. We were introducing that app. We were talking to a lot of the dive magazines, to a lot of other contacts that I have from the diving industry, just talking about the app, introducing that to the market. And so far, it seems like it has been received quite well by a lot of people, and people have started to download and use that app for their underwater filming adventures, which makes me really, really happy. What else have I been up to at the boat show? Let me just pull up a few things, and then we'll be able to talk about that a little more. Let's just go and have a look at the blue or big blue lights. Big blue lights was one of the guys that we visited, that we talked about or talked to at the show. I'm just trying to find the thing that really caught my attention when we were walking past the big blue booth. So bear with me for a second. I'll share my screen in a minute as soon as I've found it here. It's just a matter of a few moments. It's gonna be here somewhere. Right, here it is. Let me just share that screen with you. Right. One sec, guys. Be there right away. Okay, sharing. Here we go. So you should see the big blue website now. And this is what caught my attention as we were walking past the big blue booth at the boat show. It's there. Now, listen to this. It's there. 65,000 lumen pro video light. How insane is this? An underwater video light that outputs 65,000 lumen. And it is a big light. I mean, can you even see it here? Look at that light. It is massive. Apparently, it's not very negative underwater, and you can compensate apparently for that quite easily. And then it comes even with, which is not visible here, unfortunately, but it even comes with what they call a dome, which is like a diffuser that makes the light or gives the light a light of 270 degree. I think this is, as it is standard here, it's 160 degrees, I think, and it goes out to 270 with that dome diffuser, which I find just incredible. But it's not here on any of the pictures, unfortunately. No, it's not here any of the pictures. Well, in any case, it's something that really caught my attention, and I was just very fascinated by it. Really kind of wanted to try it out and see for myself how one can use this light. Now, what's your take on that? How do you see such a incredibly powerful light? Is this something that you think would be useful in any instances for us underwater image makers, or do you think it's just overkill, way over the top? I mean, the price is somewhere around $3,500, which is not cheap, of course, but for a light of that sort of power, it's not ridiculously expensive. Yeah, let me know, guys, in the comments what you think about such a powerful light. I've got a very specific use in mind. Just got a very specific use in mind that I have to try out. Hopefully soon. I'm in touch with Oscar, the owner of Big Blue Lights, and I'm hoping to be able to get my hands on at least one of these lights in the near future and test it out and see for myself how practical this light actually is. But the way I was thinking of using it is to actually use it as like a not fixed to the camera or attached to the camera, but much rather a light that is put into position somewhere, and then with the 270-degree wide beam, it can just illuminate a rather big area. So you can then just move around a little bit and kind of use it as an artificial sun if you want, that you place somewhere. Maybe you can, attach it to a float to the surface if you're diving shallow and just have it shine straight down. So you kind of imitating a sun with 65,000 lumen that is just shining down onto your scene. And so you basically don't have the light sitting next to your camera and moving with you, but just having it kind of on a float or something attached to the top and somehow kept in position while you're then using that light to light up your scene underwater. So I can see that as a very practical way of using such a very, very high intensity light. Let me know what other uses you can imagine with such a strong light underwater. Now, Johanni says he's already got the Big Blues 30,000. And he thinks they're too negatively buoyant. And the wide angle beam, it's just not so useful, but maybe some special things. Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, I don't know about the negative buoyancy of the 65,000 lumen lights. Oscar was saying they're not very much negatively buoyant, and with like one or two float arms, it can be compensated. Possibly. Well, time will tell. And as Johanni says, I am agreeing that it is probably only for very specialized kind of users. But as I said, I don't see it as a light that you would attach to your camera, because I think it's just going to be too bright for that matter. But maybe have it stationary somewhere. Maybe it's more for like, commercial stuff, even shoots in like pools and stuff where you just place your lights permanently in a place, but you want to have a lot of light because you have to be further away. You want to get as much light as possible onto your object. That could be a use that I can see as a possibility. Rebecca says way too much light. Yeah, I know, Rebecca, you're always trying to turn your lights or dim your lights down a little bit, but I actually think that there is no such thing as too much light, because you can always bring a lot of light with you and then just dial it down so you're not using it to its full capacity. At the same time, it's going to get longer run times. And I mean, these ones will even get at full power, apparently 1.5 hours of burn time, which is really impressive, I think. But then again, they're huge. So they must have like a big compartment for a pretty big battery that sits inside of them. Nevertheless, an hour is pretty good. An hour and a half is pretty good. And I always prefer to have more light with me underwater, and then I can just dial it down and use it at a lower power level, saving up some battery. And then if I really need it in that rare situation, I can crank it up and I get more power out of that light. So more in that case, I would really say is a better, in my opinion. But yeah, that's just kind of what it is. So, any other uses for such a big light, or what are your thoughts about a 65,000 lumen video light? Would you get one? Is this something that you would even be interested in, or do you think, no, I'm struggling with my 5,000 lumen light. I don't really know how to use a 65,000 lumen light. That's perfectly fair. Yeah, I can see that, Johanni, that it's gonna be difficult for models underwater when they have that much light shining onto their faces or into their eyes. I think it's really just about being able to place the light much further away. And I don't think it's even about getting the 65,000 lumen light power on your object, but being able to place it further away because you're trying to capture a wide angle or wider scene. So you can't place light closer to your object because otherwise they would be in the frame. So you can place them further out, but have them cranked up at like a higher output level. and therefore still get some light onto your object. Maybe that's a way how you can do this. Jory is joining us. Hello, my friend. Glad you made it, and sorry for the delay. No worries at all. It was my pleasure to report back to you guys from the boat show. We had actually a really good time, Sebastian and myself. Caves and cenotes. Yes, Rebecca, I agree. I think that's a really good use case to have such a strong light in caves and cenotes. To just have that stationary placed somewhere and just light up those places in a really interesting and a really unique way, I think. So yeah, definitely. So let's move on. Let's have a look at something else, a different interview that we had during the boat show. Let me just pull up the other where is it? The other tab that I have here, and let's just go into we'll go and have a look at Easy Dive, our friends from Italy. And I'm just going to share that screen with you again. Bear with me for a sec. Here we go. All right. So these guys, I have to say, I have heard of them. I have seen them from a distance a few times in the past, but I've never really talked to these guys. And then on the recent boat show, Fabio and his team, they were just right there in front of me as I was talking to Nauticam. And so I started or ended up talking to Fabio for quite some time, quite a while, and he was explaining me all the interesting pieces of gear that he's got. And he's a really nice guy. He's Italian, of course. He's very open, very talkative, and he just really explained in detail to me about their underwater camera systems. Now, they've got a couple of different things. First of all, they've got their Leo 3, which is like the smartphone housings. Now, these ones are like some other housings on the market. They work with their own app that is used to control the housing inside, or to control the camera, inside the housing. And now they've just come up with a new housing, which is called, I think it's this one here, if I'm not wrong. It's the No, I don't think it's that one. I think it's one that's not even on their side yet, but I'm not entirely. Maybe it is this one. I'm not entirely sure, but it's called the Leo 3. This is the Leo 3 Smart. It might even be that one. And it's a, let me see it from the other side, maybe. Is there any other pictures here? Not really much here. You can see it better in the video that we made, the interview video that we made on the boat. There's some better B-roll there of how you use the buttons and stuff in the back. You can't really see it here too well. But it seemed to be really, really nice. Also, the app that he was showing, I haven't really used it myself. I haven't got any experience with it, but it seems like the app that they've got with the housing is actually working quite well. And apparently he says that you can also not just use their app, but you can somehow, and I haven't really figured out how that works, you can somehow also use third-party apps like Blackmagic with this housing, which is quite interesting. I don't know how that works. I'm on it to find out, and I'm also talking to Fabio to see if I can get my hands on one of these housings and test them for you guys so that I can actually give you some first-hand information and pass on some experience that I have hopefully, or will have had made hopefully with this housing sometime in the future, in the near future. Now, another thing that's really interesting with their housings is that, different to most other manufacturers of underwater camera housings, where you just buy one specific housing, or you buy one housing for a specific camera, and then if you change the camera, you have to change the housing. This is not the case here. Here you can actually buy one housing, and then you can just upgrade like the base plate if you change your camera, and you can keep using the same housing. This is interesting because it eliminates that need for getting a new housing all the time. And they make this possible by actually having a full electronical control system of the camera. So the camera gets plugged into, or cable gets plugged into the camera, which sits inside the base plate of the housing, and there is like a control panel, electronic control panel that gives you full accessibility to all the camera functions, and that's why they can change this between different cameras, which is a really smart system. I like that a lot, and maybe that's something that I can look into at some point as well, because that's one of the things that I'm really not liking about housings for cameras, underwater housings for cameras, that every time you get a new camera, which for me luckily doesn't happen too often, but every now and then it does happen, and upgrade, you have to look at the new housing. And especially if you're not doing this like professionally, it's probably a nice idea if you can just keep the same housing, the same ports, the same accessories, but only just change the base plate that gives you access to the camera. Right, so let's see. We have a couple of comments here. I'm just going to go through them. So Johnny says he used the Leo 3WI. Johnny, what's your experience with that? That would be very interesting to hear, as we have someone here who has experience with the Easy Dive product. Please do let us know what your experience is there. Yori says, universal housing idea, interesting concept. I checked it quickly for my 7F3 and came to something cheaper than my actual Naughty Cam. Yes, that's also what I found. I also found that Easy Dive actually comes in cheaper in price than like Naughty Cam, Marelux, or the other known brands for underwater camera housings. Also, I found that for some reason, Easy Dive is oftentimes giving quite high discounts on a very regular basis. And I don't know why, maybe that's just a marketing technique, but it seems like they always or oftentimes have some sort of a discount going, especially during dive shows. They had some really, really high discounts happening during the boat show. Yes, sorry, Nigel, for the long wait. I know it took a long time to get this live stream started today. I apologize for it. And it's great to see that you still made it to the live stream. And hopefully it is going to be somehow useful and beneficial to you, the topics that we'll talk about today. Right, so an FX3 is the camera that Johnny was or is using in the Easy Dive housing. Rebecca says she likes the second wall mount in the corner. Yeah, it's quite practical, I think. So you can mount two different lights or accessories onto the housing that way. Yeah, Jory, I know exactly what you mean. If you have a Naughty Cam housing, it's very unlikely that you're going to be switching. First of all, the Naughty Cam housings are quite good. I mean, there's no other way of saying it. They are very reliable and very good. Plus, you have probably spent a lot of money on that system already. But it's good to hear that Johnny is happy and that he's used it for, or he uses it for two different cameras, still and video. So that's actually also an interesting idea, an interesting concept, to use the same housing but have different base plates and then just swap the cameras in between photo and video. Actually not a bad idea, because that way you don't have to carry two housings with you. You just carry two camera bodies and lenses, or even just two camera bodies and the same lenses if they're the same system, and can use the same camera that way. It's actually not a bad idea. I like that, Johnny. Well done on coming up with that, using the same housing with two different cameras for stills and video. Really do like that. yeah, so what I really want to try to do, let me just come back to you here. What I really want to try to do with Easy Dive is to see if I can get a housing for my new Canon C80. I just got a C80 a little while ago, like a month or two ago, which I'm primarily using for like my on-land stuff. So client work, event coverages, all that sort of stuff that I also do here in Switzerland, which doesn't have anything to do with like underwater videography, but it's also part of my business, of my little production company here in Switzerland. And I just got that camera because I wanted to upgrade from like an older camera that I had been using for these gigs. And at the boat show, Fabio actually said, because I was looking up to see if Nauticam or anyone else is already making a housing for the C80, because I know there is housings for the C70. And from like based on my research, I couldn't find anyone who makes that. But then Fabio told me that they actually have a housing in which the C70 fits, which is pretty much the same size, not much different to the C80. So I'm thinking that if they get the electronics right, they might have a housing for my C80 to fit in, and I would really like to give that a try and see how that works in one of their housings. That way we could test their housings. I could get my C80 in the water, hopefully not wet, but in the water, and yeah, everyone's happy. So hopefully we'll get that done soon, and I will be reaching out to Fabio next week or the week after, and we'll discuss what options there are and how we can collaborate, and how I can test some gear for him, and maybe that can be beneficial for him as well. Right, what do we got in the comment section here? Yori says housings can make break your video for Nauticam. For instance, you get a guarantee that if you follow their port lens charts, you won't have any clipping, deforming in court. That's true. Now Nauticam does really have outstanding optical performance, as long as you stick to their to what they tell you, what combinations you should be using. Yeah, I know the iCloud system, and you have it with a lot of, I don't want to say cheaper, but more affordable systems that the optical performance is just not quite where I would like to have it, if that makes sense. Yeah, no, Nigel, this has nothing to do with you or your age. That is entirely my fault that it took so long to get this live stream started. And again, I'm very sorry for you having had to go through all that trouble and for having missed 12 minutes. But it was only 12 minutes, right? Yes, I'm also looking very much forward, Yori, for some first-hand experience. And, you'll be the first ones, guys, to hear about it as soon as I had my hands on either one of those systems, whether it is the Big Blue Lights or the Easy Dive housings, for what it's worth. Now, we talked about Nauticam. Let's have a quick look at Nauticam, because they have come up with something quite interesting. Let me just see if I can find that. Should be in the accessory parts. You know what? I'm just going to bring you the website so you can actually see with me as I'm going through. Here we go. As I'm going through the Nauticam website, and let me just see, because we had the EMWL, the extended macro wide lens system. If I can see where this is. Accessories. Let me see if we can find something here. I'm not entirely sure where I can find it on their website, and it seems to be a little difficult. EMWL. Let's see. There's something there. Here we go. So this is kind of a angled relay lens. I think this is the one. So basically what the EMWL is, it's a lens that gives you the possibility to have a very sort of, to have different field of views depending on what kind of optics you're using, what kind of components you're using there. But with a macro characteristic. So you can get very, very close to a small thing while still having not a macro view, but actually a wide angle view up to 130 degrees. Don't get me wrong. I think it's 130 degrees, which is the maximum. And that just makes for some really, really interesting images and videos that you can record that way. I'm just trying to see if I can find it. It's not, I can't really see it set up here somewhere. No. Now what they've done, they have created this here, which is a, what's it called, an angled relay lens. So now you can basically have, let's just see if we can, well, maybe there's a photo on Google about this. See if there's a photo. Here we go. This is it. Much better. So here we can actually see what this actually does. It actually makes it possible. What you can do now, if you have your object here, like your little anemone, your Nemo sitting there, or like a nudie branch or something, and then, or as opposed to trying to dig and bury the camera in the sand to get that sort of bottom up shot to the surface, you can now get this much, much easier by keeping your camera in sort of like a regular position, but then having that angled relay portion pointing up to the surface and getting a very specific, very unique field of view and point of view onto your object. And that's something that I find really, really interesting. The thing with the EMW L system is that it's only compatible, from what I know, with the Nauticam system. So there's no other system that this is compatible with, which is a bit of a bummer because it means obviously you need Nauticam to be able to do that, and so on. Nevertheless, it seems like a really interesting system. And if you are using a Nauticam housing, which I know some of you are, then this is something really interesting looking into, I find. Yeah. So that was the big thing about the Nauticam presence at the boat show, where they were presenting this new piece of tech that I found very, very interesting. They also had a special sort of macro lens that gives you focal capabilities further away than a normal macro lens would do. So instead of just having to focus in a range that is fairly limited, you now have a focal range up to about a meter and a half. So you can use the macro lenses and still get some sort of mid shots with it. Not something that I have kind of wished for in the past, but it seemed, Edward was explaining it to me in a way that it seemed to make a lot of sense for photographers, really. So yeah, something interesting nevertheless. We're coming back to Easy Dive. Johnny says Easy Dive has lifetime warranty. Now this is interesting, Johnny. What does that warranty include? Is it like parts manufacturing? I'm guessing still that after a couple of 100 dives, you should have the housing serviced, and that is something that you do pay for, right? Or is it, do you pay just for the service and the parts are covered by the warranty, or do you also pay for the parts? That'd be interesting to know. But it's always nice when a manufacturer gives you lifetime warranty. I have that on my Halcyon BCD. And I'm really loving it because I actually had to get a replacement once, and they replaced it without anything at all. Like I didn't even have to pay for the shipping of the broken bladder to them. They paid for that and sent me a brand new one. So that's something really nice. Rebecca's asking if I regularly attend shows other than Boat and DEMA. Well, I have never been to DEMA, I have to say, to my shame. I've tried many times, but it's November. It's for me. It's a really bad time. November is very busy for me, and Dima is on the other side of the world for me as well. The boat show is really literally like a 4-hour train drive from my house. Dima is a lot further away. So boat is really the one show that I try to go to every year. Also, it's a very big show, and pretty much everyone's coming to the boat show. So if I just take a couple of days and go to that show, I can kind of see all my contacts, all my partners, all the people that are important to me from the diving industry. So that makes more sense to me. And then there is another show, a smaller show, which is in Friedrichshafen, which is about 2 hours away from where I live, from Zurich. It's like in the corner between Switzerland, Germany, and Austria, and that's also a pretty nice, small little dive show, but high quality. And that's in September, so it's like January boat, September the interdive, it's called, that one in Friedrichshafen. So those are usually the two shows that I go to, and that kind of gives me a really good coverage and really good chances to speak with and see people that are important to me and that I want to speak to and collaborate with and do projects with and stuff. So maybe one day Dima will happen. Any other shows, I just simply don't have the time, to be quite honest. I would love to do that. I love shows. I love being at shows. I think it's really nice meeting all these people. But it always takes up a lot of your time. And you can do this if you have a huge team and you can kind of split the workload, or while you're at the show, someone else is getting your work done. With me, that's not the case. So if I'm at the show, and my work doesn't get done here in the office and for the channel and for my clients, and it's a bit of a dilemma. And I have to, prioritize. So shows are kind of at the moment limited to those two: the boat show in Düsseldorf in January and the interdive in Friedrichshafen, which happens in September. Yes, no, actually, that's correct. We're just going through a couple of interesting things that I've seen at the boat show. And then later on, we'll go into a Q&A session. But if you have any questions, feel free to place them in the chat right away, and we'll pick them up as we go along. If I feel they are fitting for the moment, we'll answer them right away, or otherwise we'll get back to them later in the Q&A session. Johnny says service every year and you pay around 200 euros. That's not bad. So you pay 200 euros for a service. You do that once a year. That's actually not bad. And then you get lifetime warranty and a housing that doesn't have to be changed. That's really a good deal. I would sign up for that. $200. That's not bad. That's not bad. Thank you, Johnny, for that information. I should put Boston Rovers on the short list mid-March. Okay. What's so special about the Boston Sea Rovers show then, Rebecca? I'm curious. Is it because you're going to be there? Is it, I don't know. I've heard of the Boston Sea Rovers show, but I can't really place it in a specific area or sort of recall why it might be a special and show worthwhile going. So let me know. Who knows? Who knows? I'm not saying no. Generally speaking, I'm just saying I have to watch my time. All right. So, what else? Let's see if I can bring up what have we got? Orca. Let's go and have a look at Orca Torch next. Orca Torch, also a company that we saw at the boat show. Let me just see if I can bring it onto the screen again for you. Sorry if I'm keep staring down on my computer, but I'm trying to pull up all these things here. So I should see it now. Let's see. So we want to go into underwater photography, and they've got some new lights coming out. I don't even know if they're already on the website. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. Let's just have a quick look. I've used some Orca Torch lights in the past, and I was always, quite happy. Like the decent lights. No, they don't seem to be on here yet. New, no, that's not the ones. They had some 12,000 lumen new lights that they presented to us at the boat show, but they don't seem to be on the side yet. No, I think they're coming. They're not on the side yet. So well, let's skip and let's go to Xstar, which is another company that we talked to. Yeah, well, you can see they're in their festive season, in the holiday season. Nevertheless, let's have a look at the products. This is a company that does a lot of things. Here we go, photography. No, that's not what I was looking for. Diving. Well, they call it flashlight and not video lights. Let me see if there's some of the ones that we were talking about. I think it was the D40 that we talked about. Yes, the D40. Well, it was one of these ones. I can't really remember which ones we talked about, whether it was the D40, the 4000 or the 6000 lumen. Maybe it was both of them. I can't quite remember. But those were the lights that were presented at the boat show. They're talking about like, I think it was those two different lights, talking about a specific switch, which is a bit special with them. So they have this little switch here, like a, if you turn it around, you kind of block the mechanism of the torch, so you cannot turn it on by mistake or turn it off by mistake. Which is a nice feature if you have it just in your BCD pocket, so you can have the switch to like the locked section, and then it can't on accident just turn itself on. Yeah, decent lights, and I think they've also got decent prices for these lights. But yeah, you guys know, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I am a big fan of the Kelden lights. Yeah, so these are really my absolute favorite lights. We'll go out here again. Sorry for scrolling through the thing without showing you anything specific. Yeah, so Kelden lights really is the one thing that the lights that I really prefer above anything else. I think they are just, it's not the quality of the light that comes out of these devices, but it's really the ease of use of those lights that that made me fall in love with them. And yeah, I'm actually very happy that we are, with the channel here, we are going to be having a little bit of a closer collaboration with Keldan in the future, starting with our underwater videography workshop in the Maldives, as Keldan is going to be a site sponsor in that workshop week that we're having in the Maldives in April. And from there on, I'm very positive that this collaboration will go on, and we'll see more Kelden content here on my channel, which I'm really excited about. Yes, Nigel, Kelden does a red filter, or a red filter for cameras. They also do like sort of red foils that you can then place on the camera lens, like in between the sensor and the camera lens. So you don't have to screw a filter on in front of the lens. They're actually very good. Kelden has very high quality products, whether that is their lights, their spectrum filters, which is what they call their red filters, or even the ambient blue filters. So yeah, they work fine. They're nice. I actually like the Kelden filters quite a lot. I use them very regularly. I've started off with the screw-on filter that you put onto your lens, but then I had some issues with flaring with that filter when I had the camera or the lens pointed in a specific direction. So I got rid of that, and now I use the little foils that you just basically place when you detach the lens from the camera, and then you just place it on the back side of the lens, and then you attach it again onto the camera body, and that way you don't get those flares and stuff anymore, but still get the added spectrum, red spectrum color back into your image. So that's a really nice thing. And I do think they are a little higher quality, if I can say, than the difoc red filters. Difoc red filters are fine. They're just like standard red filters, but the spectrum filters from Kelden, they are, I think they're just a little better tuned into the different depth levels, because you also get different densities of red filters for different depth. So you have like one that is optimized for 6 meters, one that's optimized for 12 meters, one that's optimized for 18 or above. I better say below 18 meters. So depending on what your target depth is, you can change that red filter or the little red foil on your lens, and you'll get the best possible results. And difoc obviously doesn't have that. They have one red filter, which is kind of a compromise between all different depth, and works well in most situations, but obviously very far up in the shallow waters, it's going to be too red, and very far down, it's just not going to be enough red spectrum back into, or not going to bring enough red spectrum back into your image. If that makes sense. So Rebecca says, Sea Rovers draws a lot of New England divers, but also big names in the community and lots of videographers and gear and dive deals. But I have nothing to compare it to. Okay, have you been there yourself yet, Rebecca? That's the question. Have you seen it? Is it something that you would consider worth going? Then I'd be very interested in hearing about it. And I'm very open to talk about it in April when we see each other in the Maldives. It's not going to happen this year, that's for sure. My schedule is up until after the Maldives. My schedule is so full that I simply can't do anything unexpected right now, or my wife will kill me. But maybe for another year. So I'm very open to talk about this during the workshop week in the Maldives. And yes, there is going to be some Kelden treats. There is going to be some stuff for you guys that you can try out from Kelden while we will be enjoying ourselves in the Maldives. Yeah, that's a little promise that I can give already to you guys coming with us to the Maldives. Right. What else? I'm just thinking if there was something else that was very interesting. Well, Leffit, the scooter company, these ones here. I've got them here in the back. These ones here. I had them with me in the Indonesia workshop when we were in Bali and Komodo last year. They're coming out with a new scooter. It's still kind of, how can I say? There's nothing really publicly available yet on information about it, but it's going to be a new product that is going to come out, and it should be coming out just in time again for the Maldives trip. So if everything goes by the plan, fingers crossed, I might be having one of their new products with me in the Maldives, and we'll get to play around with it a little bit, which would be really, really cool. And then also these guys here, the Edge Smart Drive. It's another company that makes scooters. They are coming out with a new scooter to their K5, which I tested 2 years ago in the Maldives. The new one, the K6, obviously, is going to be, I think, a little more powerful, they said, and it's going to be more modular. And what they're thinking of doing is making it possible to put two together, like Leffit is doing. But then, and this is really interesting, they're planning on having a system where they can individually increase or decrease the speed of one or the other propeller. So it will help you when you want to turn. And it's really interesting. So you don't have to turn by using your hands anymore, but the propeller itself, if you want to turn to the right, and I don't know how this is going to work, maybe a joystick that you push to the right. If you do that, then the propeller on the right is going to decrease in speed. The propeller on the left is going to increase, and it's going to automatically push you to the right. And I've not seen this in any other scooter manufacturer on the market to date. It's really interesting. I like the concept. And I think that these guys can also pull it off, because their background is in sort of model plane aviation systems. So they have been making model planes for many years, and their propellers are really high quality, lightweight, high quality, high endurance, because they are made for the use in the air. So I have full trust that they will, if they say that this is what they want to do, I have full trust that they will come out with a system that works like that. And they promised to have a unit ready for me as soon as they have it completed, their new build. And yeah, good times. It looks like there's going to be a lot of scootering in 2025 for me, and I kind of like that. I like being underwater with a scooter. It's always a lot of fun. Right. Let me see. What did we forget? We talked about Nauticam. We talked about pretty much everything, I think. Let me just see if we forgot anything else. Just gonna quickly pull up the coverage of the show to see if I have missed anything at all. We had Orca Torch, we had... Oh yeah, we haven't talked about SubBlue. This is another manufacturer of scooters, underwater scooters. And I have not heard of them before. They were completely new to me. Let me just pull it up for you guys. I'll share the screen again with you so you see what I see. Here we go. So these ones, SubBlue, this is a company that I have not heard of before, and they make some interesting. Here we go. They make some interesting scooters. I think they're more kind of targeted to sort of the yachting scene. Nevertheless, I mean, I walked past their stand, and I think it's this one here, the Vapor. And I saw this scooter, and I just couldn't walk past their booth. It was like, wow, this looks like an awesome scooter, particularly because of the heads-up display that is integrated in it. Where have we pictures? I mean, look at this. Oh, you can't really see this, maybe. It has a screen, and it gives you stuff like water temperature, depth, dive time or submerged time. It gives you depth alerts, so you can set an alert if you go deeper than 10, 15, 20 meters. It will start beeping, giving you a visual alert. It will also give you an alert if you start ascending too quickly. It's not a dive computer, doesn't have a doesn't give you no decompression limit, but it is it looks really, really cool, and it has quite a bit of power, apparently. So this is something quite interesting. What does it say here? Yeah, up to 10 kilometers an hour is the speed this thing goes underwater. I mean, you can have a lot of fun with that. Look at that. You can really have a lot of fun with that. Yes, I'm liking this a lot. So that's the other company when it comes to scooters that I saw at the boat show, and that really impressed me with the design, especially of the Vapor. There's obviously other scooters that they make as well. We've got this one, the Nevbo, and some other scooters. Actually really really nice. Come back here, and then we obviously haven't talked about Divefork yet. They also made a few announcements at the boat show. Their new colored housings, the pink and the silver one, they're finally available. They got available last week. They're shipping now, so you can get the new colors there now if you want to upgrade, if you want to get a new housing, if you fancy a new color, or if you haven't got one and want to get one now, you can do that too. Yeah, Yori, they definitely look like fun, those scooters. Yeah. And I'm also working on trying to get my hands on one of these scooters at one point and giving it a spin and seeing how that works out and how much faster they are than the other scooters that I've tried in the past couple of years. And then the really big thing that was announced at the boat show with Dive, it's that one here. It's the Bluetooth shutter, which is basically like a little device that clips either directly onto the housing, or it can also go on the dual handle. And then via Bluetooth, you can now control record and stopping of your housing, not the housing, sorry, of the phone, of the camera, which is really cool because now you don't have to, go and do like the actual pressing on the screen anymore. But if you've framed your shot, you can just press down on it and you can take the shot, start and stop the recording. It works quite well. It has a haptic sort of resistance. So haptically, it will tell you that you've pressed the button, which is really nice. And these things, I'm sure they're going to be very, very, very popular. Even now at the show, there was a lot of people that were showing high interest in these things. And the good thing is they're not going to be very expensive. They're add-on accessories to your system, and they can be added to any of the dive housings. And I think they will go for something like $69, $79, somewhere around that range. So fairly affordable, and actually something really cool to add to your system. I've had the chance to try that system, that Bluetooth shutter in Egypt in November, and I just simply loved it. Specifically when you do like macro work and you've set up everything, even maybe with a tripod, and now you want to start the recording or take the shot. And if you then press onto the housing, you just shake that phone just ever so slightly, your image is gonna most likely be out of focus, even just a little bit. With the shutter there, you eliminate that. You're not really shaking anymore. You can just, like with a DSLR, with a proper camera, you can actually press the shutter button, take a photo, or start recording a video. So that's something really, really cool. That's kind of their main announcement at the boat show from Dive. Yeah, then obviously there is the UvaCam, the new underwater camera app that that was brought out at the boat show, was released at the boat show. I am part of the, not the development team again, but I was part of sort of the team that that worked at creating the app. There is some very smart software developers in the background that have actually written the software and created the app, and I was just the weirdo giving them feedback and telling them what they need to put in the app and what works and what doesn't, and what people want to have in the app and what people don't want to have in the app, and where the buttons should be and that kind of stuff. That was sort of my part in the entire creation of that app, and I'm very, very, very happy we've created that app. It has received some good feedback on the boat show already, and is now up and available. If you scroll up a little bit in the chat, you will see the link to the website uvacam.com. That's UWACAM, uvacam.com. You can go and check it out there, and you can download the free version as well for your iPhone and check it out, check all the functions out, and see whether or not you like it. I'm pretty sure you will like it because it's going to make your life with an iPhone in the dive housing easier by giving you just better controls and easier workflows and a cleaner user interface. And that's kind of the main thing that we tried to make with that app. All right. I think that's enough talking from my side when it comes to what happened at the boat show 2 weeks ago. Now, I'm all ears for all your questions that you might have, whether that is in regards to any of the manufacturers, pieces of equipment that I talked about today, or anything else. If you have any other questions you might want to throw at me, give it a chance. See if you can throw me off my path. See if you can give me a question I might not be able to answer, and if I'm not able to answer it, I'll make sure to get the answer for you and and deliver it at a later stage. But go ahead, if there's any questions, feel free to ask now, as we have entered into the Q&A session and the last part of today's live stream. Oh, that's a good point. Rebecca was saying that Blackmagic wasn't usable because of her eyesight, because I'm guessing because the controls, buttons, figures, and everything was really small. Yeah, that's going to be different on UvaCam. We specifically made sure that the screen is not overloaded and that any of the figures and stuff is actually in a decent size. And you can even, like the main section at the bottom, which gives you like information about your frame rate, your shutter speed, your ISO, and so on, that can be changed. The size of that can be changed. So if you feel it's too small, inside the menu section, you can change that bar and all the information in there to a bigger size, so it's easier for you to see. And as I'm getting older and older, I find that quite useful as well. I also have started to struggle with small prints and small figures on devices and screens and stuff. So I do appreciate if they have a certain size and they're easier to read. All right. Phew. Let me have a sip of water. I've been talking way too much. All right. Other than that, what else can I tell you? Well, I can tell you that I can't wait to pack my gear and get ready for our trip to the Maldives. It's only about 8.5 weeks now before we fly off to the Maldives. And I can't wait. I really can't wait for that. It's going to be fantastic. We've got a nice group that is coming with us onto the Maldives trip. Some of them are just going to stay for the first week, for the workshop week. Some are coming with us to the Tiger Shark add-on, which I'm really excited about. And specifically for that Tiger Shark add-on, it wasn't the only reason, but it was kind of also part of the reason why I decided to upgrade my personal, my professional camera rig from the regular Komodo, Red Komodo, to the Komodo X. I actually just ordered the camera a few days ago. I had it in my shopping cart for weeks, and I was just, yeah, I'll buy it soon. And I actually placed the order a few days ago. And you can't see it, but on the other side of the camera here, I've got a big box where I've put my existing gates housing for the Komodo in there. I'm packaging it up. It's going to a facility in England, which is an authorized gates dealer. They will do, first of all, a service, because it hasn't been serviced since I got it 2.5 years ago. But also they will do an upgrade, so the same housing then can be used with the Komodo X, which is slightly bigger, slightly sort of longer, different body shape a little bit. And then I will have it back by the end of sort of February, beginning of March, just in time for the trip to the Maldives. And the Maldives is going to be like the first proper trip that I'm going to be using the new Komodo X in. And I'm very excited. More frame rates, better low light performance. That's the main thing, really. And yeah, I think that's the main thing with the Red Komodo: better low light performance and higher frame rates, which will hopefully make all those Tiger Shark and Manta shots look even more epic than with the regular Komodo camera. Yori's asking if Sebastian and myself are still continuing the reviewing your videos. Yes, we are. But you mean maybe another different release? Different, not every week is probably what you mean. Yes, we are. We definitely are planning on continuing that series. We have gotten a couple submissions already. Like, the thing is now that we will not have, for personal reasons, we will not have as much opportunity to do these recordings together as we had in the past year. So we'll have to kind of bulk produce these episodes a little more and plan them a little better. And we'll try to, we'll try to, well, right now we're having a little break. It's probably going to be until like sort of end of February, and then we'll start again with the first episodes coming out after that. And it's probably going to be like every second week, because we've noticed that every week is just putting a lot of workload on us, which is getting harder and harder to actually kind of pull off with all the different projects that we have happening in our own lives. But the series is really important to us. We really enjoy making these videos. We really enjoy getting all those submissions from you guys, and we don't want to let that go. But you're right, it's probably going to go down from like every week to like every second week. Maybe we'll have a few more breaks in between, but we'll definitely keep going with the series as long as you guys are sending us new submissions that we can review and publish on the channel. We'll keep that series going because we really like it, and we also think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that you guys are getting a certain value out of watching these videos and learning from what other divers do and what they don't do, and how they approach certain problems and certain challenges. Also, that's one of the ways how I've learned a lot about underwater filmmaking from other people, and seeing how they did certain things and how they try to solve certain problems. So yeah, we'll definitely continue with that. When are you doing manta night dives, Rebecca? That'd be interesting. Like, I mean, we're going to be doing we're not going to be doing a manta night dive. We're going to be doing a snorkeling with whale sharks at night in the Maldives. So you wanted tips for manta night dives. Dial your lights down, and don't use automatic exposure control, because the automatic exposure control is not going to be able to keep up with the fast moving manta. So if it's further away and you have your light set to, I don't know, 50% power, it's further away, and with automatic exposure control, your camera is just gonna increase the ISO. It's going to increase the ISO, making the whole image brighter. And then when the manta comes closer, the white belly comes more prominently in the frame. The camera is going to struggle to bring down the ISO again and make the image darker and not have the white belly clipping of the manta. So try to set up control your camera manually as much as you can. Set up the ISO, the shutter speed manually, and try to have it in sort of a middle ground between the manta being far away, where it's still going to be fairly dark. You probably won't going to be seeing much at that point. But then when it comes closer and you have the lights there, it should be just illuminating the manta in a proper way. What you can also try to do, and a lot of operators, especially in the Maldives, do that, they tell you to have your lights not on the cameras, but to place your lights around the dive site in different areas, have them sort of off camera, and then you can just move around with the camera. And even if the manta comes really close to you, it's not going to be blown out by the lights that are getting closer and closer to the manta, but the lights should kind of stay in the same distance from the manta. Whereas I have to say that the manta will be coming over the top of the lights, because that's where the plankton is going to accumulate, and the manta is going to come in for that plankton. So they're going to go over the lights, and it's going to get brighter and darker. But the key there is to set it to a certain point where you're happy with it. So just use, because on these manta night dives, the mantas are there, right? They're going to be there for the entire dive, more or less. It's not like you get one shot and then they're gone. So you don't have to rush it. Get in position, find your proper viewing angle, and then set up your camera in the way that you're happy with it. So do the manual setting, do your shutter speed, your ISO, your aperture, do that manually as much as you can on the respective camera that you're working with. And then set your lights accordingly so that you get a decent lit up image when the manta is close enough. When it's further away, it doesn't really matter. If it's further away, then, I mean, it's going to be dark anyways. And if you then just blast it in with your lights, it's not going to do much. But if you want to get some shots of the manta being further away, when it circles a little bit in the distance, change the settings manually so that they are okay for that specific scene. So that's the long answer to your short question there, Rebecca. Manual settings is the key to go in these situations because the camera will not be able to keep up with the fast changing exposure situations of the manta and the manta's white belly coming closer and going further away. I hope that made sense. I felt like I was talking very much, but I hope that makes sense. So yeah, no worries, Yori. As I said before, regarding the reviewing your videos, your underwater videos, it is a lot of fun for us to receive these videos, to watch what you guys are creating, and to review them here on the channel. And it always gives us actually a good excuse to meet and to spend some time together. So we are definitely going to be keeping that going, but sort of the distance in between the individual publications may just be increased a little bit. Then Nigel's got a question. He's all on Calden's website. They do different diameters of filters. If I recall, for their red filters, they can't recall if they do the same for the blue filters, which normally fit their own brand light. No, they don't do that for the blue filters because the blue filters, you're saying it correctly here, they make the blue filters for their specific video lights, so for the heads of their video lights. But there's actually quite a few manufacturers now that make their own blue filters, and they work very similarly to the ones that Calden makes. It's not rocket science. This is a system that has been proven and copied a few times already, and like other brands also know how to create and how to manufacture blue filters. With Calden, the thing is that they have, same with the red filters, they have different densities of blue filters. Some that are for like 6 meters, 12 meters, 18 meters, and other brands usually don't have that. Other brands will usually just have one single filter, blue filter, and you can just use that like across the whole like depth range, which is going to give you different results depending on how shallow or deep you are. But depending on what lights you're using, there's going to be, most brands will have blue filters with their lights. Like Divefork, I know, has some blue filters for their 5,000 lumen video lights. Scuba Lamp has some blue filters. Kraken, I think, has some blue filters. So there's quite a few brands out there that will have the according blue filters, but you need to have the proper one so it actually fits the head of your underwater video light. Otherwise, it's just not, it's going to be difficult to attach it. There is ways around it. You can get a filter that doesn't fit your light and then just tape it to your light if you want to do that. But it's not a very elegant way. So if you can get the fitting filter for your lights that you're using underwater, that will be the ideal solution there. Should you use an ND when filming in shallow water in bright daylight situations, or just increase shutter speed and decrease your f-stop? This is from World Fest Media. Thanks for the question. It's an interesting question, and the problem with ND filters is that on land, I mean, I use ND filters a lot on land simply because you can adjust them from scene to scene by just, if you've got a variable ND filter, by just twisting it, turning it. If you have like a fixed ND filter, just change the filter. That's easy. It's easily done. Underwater, that's a different story. So you can't just exchange an ND filter quickly or change the intensity of the ND filter. So it has to be very well planned and thought about what density of ND filter you want to put on before you go and put your camera in the housing. So it makes it a lot more complicated. You can definitely do it, and you're going to get some nice results, but it asks for a lot of pre-planning and makes the shooting not as spontaneous and easy, I would say. I wouldn't increase the shutter, to be honest. I would keep the shutter at the 180 degree angle, which is like just a standard in videography. That's nothing to do with underwater videography, just general speaking. In videography, you always try to have W frame rate. So if you shoot with 25 frames per second, you want to have your shutter speed set to 1/50th. If you shoot with 50 frames per second, it's 1/100. That just gives you the most natural looking motion blur. That's kind of the theory behind it. You can obviously experiment a little bit with it. I usually keep it at 180 because I'm quite happy with the motion blur that I'm getting using that setting. So I wouldn't really do too much with that. And then you have your aperture left, so you can close down your aperture, let less light in there. If you're shooting in very shallow water, to be able to darken down the image a little bit. Or, I mean, there's different ways how you can do it. Maybe you can even have someone, if it's really shallow, you can maybe even have someone holding something on top, on like the surface of the water, that is shielding off some of the sunlight over the scene that you're trying to capture, and make it a little darker that way. That can also be an option. There's different creative ways how you can get less sunlight. But usually underwater, the problem is not that we have too much sun or too much light. It's usually the opposite, that we have not enough sunlight. So ND filters, yes, technically speaking, a good idea in shallow water on sunny days, but challenging to use and needs a lot of pre-planning to be able to really get the exact shot that you want. Unless you use a cinema camera that has integrated ND filters and you can just change them by the push of a button. That's the ideal solution. Then go ahead, use ND filters as much as you like. It's not going to be a problem, and you'll be able to change the density quite easily. That would be the optimal solution, obviously, there. So Nigel says, I'd like to try any 50mm diameter blue filter fittings on my fisheye fix video lights if possible. Well, I can't promise anything, Nigel. I don't know if the blue filters that we'll have with us in the Maldives will be 50mm diameter. I really can't tell you. We can try. I mean, Divefogg's going to have some blue filters with them for trial, so we can try them out. We can see if we can attach them somehow to your lights. If we can get that done, then you're more than welcome to use those for a few dives and see how you get along with them. Or as an option, just altogether just use the package of Divefog with their 5000 lumen lights and the filters that fit on those lights, and take them for a couple of dives and see how you like that. There's different options that we can explore and go after during that week in the Maldives, obviously. Yori says he was amazed that so many dive video manufacturers were Chinese. Some serious power coming from there. Good product and a bit more affordable than Canon. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I think that's exactly right. The affordability is a big issue. Underwater video lights have always mostly been on the more expensive side, and Kelvin definitely isn't like an exception there. They're probably one of the most expensive underwater video lights that you can get. Again, I think they're also right up there in the top. For me, probably the best ones, but arguably, well, at least in the top three, I would say. And but yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sure where they have their production, but I know that some of the products are actually being made in Switzerland. So obviously the cost is a little higher for making these lights, sorry. But again, the big thing, and don't get me wrong, I'm really enjoying how competitive the underwater lighting market has become, and how many manufacturers have entered the market and are innovating and bringing new products to the market and all that sort of stuff. Still, the ease of use of underwater video lights, for me personally, is something incredibly important. The easier I can use the lights underwater, the less I have to fiddle around with different buttons and try to set it to where I want to have it, the more I'm going to be enjoying it, and it's just going to be better for me. And none of the brands that I have tried so far have been even close to matching the ease of use of Kelvin lights with the magnetic switch, which is so easy to use. And I mean, it's very difficult to explain. And for many years, I was like, I was in the same boat. I was like, yeah, Kelvin, they sound great, they look great, they seem great, but it's just too expensive for me. I can't afford it. I don't want to spend that money. And then when I tried them the first time, when I just had the chance to try a set of Kelvin lights for the first time, I knew that I needed a pair of these lights. It's as simple as this. And if you don't experience it, you will not understand how much of a difference this makes. The ease of use between Kelvin lighting systems and any other systems on the market, really. And especially now with their wireless technology for remotely controlling your lights on a little device that you can attach next to your handle, and it connects wirelessly. It's not a fiber optic cable, it's wirelessly. You can control either both lights together or each of the lights individually. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And for all of you coming to the Maldives, go ahead and use that chance that we'll have there to try the Kelvin system. Not that I wanna get you into buying some Kelvins. By all means, that's entirely obviously your decision, and I don't get anything out of it. But just for the sake of having tried it, it is a really different experience using these lights compared to any other lights that I've used in the past underwater. Yes, Diefog does blue filters. Yes, and they will bring some to the Maldives trip. So, Nigel, you're more than welcome to try out the Diefog blue filters in the Maldives and see for yourself whether or not you like working with blue filters underwater on your underwater video lights. All right. So, peeps, how are we doing? Is there any more questions from the crowd? Because otherwise, I would kind of slowly but surely call it a day. We've been in the stream now for about an hour and 20 minutes. I know, delayed obviously by my fault, and I'm sorry again. I apologize for that again. But yeah, we've got about an hour and a half now, an hour 20 minutes. If there's any more questions, let me know. And Juhani, it's a good comment. Thank you, Juhani. Yeah, because I remember when you were covering the underwater championship, the World Championship in Albania, I think you lost your Kelvin lights in a interesting incident, I think. And then someone recovered it and brought it back to you. And they had been underwater for 3 days, and nothing happened, right? They still working perfectly. They're fine. Quality. Oh, Rebecca is asking the important and the good questions. What are my plans for the channel in 2025? Well, I'm planning on bringing to you a lot more gear reviews, because I think that that's, from what I'm hearing from you guys, that's kind of what you're interested in. Also, when I look at the statistics from last year, the videos that I made that were somehow connected to gear reviews were performing very well and were watched the most. So I'm planning on doing more of these gear reviews. That's also one of the reasons why I have talked to so many different manufacturers at the boat show, to make sure that I get a constant flow of new gear coming my way and being delivered to me, so I can try out different stuff. I know some people have said that my channel has become a little Diefog dominant in the last year or so, which is true. I cannot deny that. Diefog is a big supporter of the channel. Diefog is one of the reasons, being very honest here, why this channel is still going and being fed so many videos on a regular basis, simply because they are helping me also financially with sending gear and sponsoring the gear being reviewed and showed on the channel. So yeah, so these gear reviews, I'll try to make more of those in 2025. And then I'm also going to try to revive the whole underwater video academy idea a little more again, which I just couldn't really follow up too much last year because I was just busy with other personal things last year as well. And I want to start creating more sort of little mini courses and workshops to specific topics. Like Rebecca, you were mentioning night diving with mantis. That could be like a mini course that is like, I don't know, 2 or 3 segments on how to capture mantis or big animals at night and how to best do that. So I'm hopefully going to be getting a little more into that in the second part of this year, where I'll have a little more time, hopefully, to come up with sort of tutorial ideas and stuff like that, helping people, helping you guys to get the most out of the experiences that you have while diving, being able to capture them in the best possible way. So those are a little bit the ideas I think about this year. There's also, as we said earlier on to Yori, there's also going to be the reviewing around the water films series that's going to be going. I also try. That's actually. Let me ask you this, because I was just having this thought the other day. I want to make sort of little series, not like long series, but like 3-part series to specific topics. Like, for example, I'm thinking about making a series about the topic of comparing higher end cameras like cinema cameras, mirrorless cameras, like a A7S3, like a Canon Canon R5 Mark 1 or Mark 2 or whatever, to like sort of more accessible cameras like action cameras, like smartphones, like TG6s, 7s, that kind of stuff. And kind of sort of look at the advantages, disadvantages of each of these systems. And with the main question in the background, is it worth investing the money into a larger system? Is the quality of footage that you can get out of these systems better or noticeably better than what you can get from a compact camera, a action camera, or a smartphone nowadays, as these systems have improved so much in like the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. And then look into that topic in like a first episode, and then in a second and third episode, give you some footage to compare. So have some footage, some edited footage, taken with higher end cameras, taken with smartphones, taken with action cameras. And then also in the third part, showing you some unedited footage, because oftentimes the higher end cameras require quite a bit of work to make the footage actually look really good. And I also want to give you a bit of a comparison there between what the footage looks like right out of the camera without any post-production put onto it, between like higher end cameras, smartphones, compacts, and action cams. Is that something that would be interesting to you? Topic wise, please let me know. I'd be really interested in hearing your thoughts about that idea. And I'm actually thinking more in between those lines and seeing if I can come up with more of these ideas that kind of go into that direction and give you a little more information and experience from my side that I can share with you, that will hopefully help you in make some decisions when it comes to your underwater filmmaking, like gear purchases and stuff in the future. Good question, Nigel. What's the difference between HD and 4K? Generally speaking, it is the sharpness. It's just a lot more pixels. The pixel density is obviously higher on a 4K in a 4K video than it is in an HD video. It also means that even if you're watching it on an HD screen, you can with a 4K recording, you can crop in a lot more into your image, or you can crop in like quite a bit into your 4K image and still end up with an HD resolution on your export. That's the big thing. If you have an HD clip to start off with, and then you start cropping in, you will go below HD. So you'll not even have full HD anymore. You'll have 720 or 480 or whatever, and then it starts getting really pixelated, and you can see the demise in quality quite easily there. So you're right. It's really just the sharpness and the density of the pixels, but then it's the possibility to crop into your image more and still have a full HD image coming out when exporting the clip. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, I hope that makes sense, Nigel. The 4K kind of is the standard nowadays, and it just gives you that freedom of repositioning your framing and cropping into the image a little more. Rebecca says, it certainly took me a long time to learn the limits of my camera versus when the limiting factor was me. Can see how that would have a lot of value. Okay, cool. Thank you, Rebecca, for that. Yes, that's a very good way of putting it. I didn't think about this, but realizing when it is the camera that's limiting you, or whether you can still push a little more output out of the camera by tweaking the ways you work with the camera a little bit. Team tutorial. Rebecca's always going to be team tutorial. Yeah, there's going to be tutorials coming up for sure, Rebecca. I've got a couple of ideas already, of course, that will come out this year. I'll also try to do a little bit more in sort of post-production. I think that's something that I want to get a little more into. I was a bit reluctant in the past going into the post-production because everyone is using different systems. But I think that's okay. And I think it's also okay if I just do post-production on Final Cut, which is the system that I'm using, the software that I'm using. Maybe I can even get Sebastian. I've been actually talking to him. Maybe I can get him to do a few tutorials and some content for the channel about DaVinci Resolve, because he's, as you know, the expert in DaVinci Resolve and all that comes with it. So with a little luck, we can get him to do a little bit of tutorialing on DaVinci Resolve for all you guys out there using that software to edit your underwater videos. And I know he's got the expertise to teach you anything you need to know about DaVinci. I don't. I just don't use that system that often, but I can do the same with Final Cut. And I'm planning on doing, again, probably a little series of going through like the steps of post-production, through the different phases of post-production. That's actually, something that I've had on my mind and on my plate for a very long time. I just haven't really gotten to it. But hopefully this year. Okay. Doesn't seem to have any more questions. And I hope that I was able to answer the questions that were asked satisfactory. And yeah, I hope that's fine for everyone that way. If there is anything else, I'll give you 2 more minutes to put the question into the chat, and then we'll call it a day. The next live stream, hopefully without any delay next time, will happen in a month's time, so at the end of February. I don't even know. Let me check when. I haven't even set that up yet, but let me just quickly check February. We've got oh, it's the 28th. It's the last day of February. It's a Friday. It's going to be on a Friday again. So we'll do it then on the 28th of February. We'll have the next live stream and Q&A session. So it doesn't seem that there's any more questions. So we'll close the Q&A session for today. And I just want to express my my gratitude for being so patient with me today, guys. Thank you so much for having stuck around and for having joined the live stream, for having participated with your questions and comments. It was, as always, a lot of fun doing these live streams. I hope you got something out of it. if that's the case, then do go and tell your friends and dive buddies about this live stream so that other people can join as well. It would be nice. We were up to like 10 or 11 people at the peak, as I saw. It would obviously be nice if we can bring that number up a little bit higher. So I do rely on your help there in pushing the word out. And if you have anyone who's interested in underwater videography, tell them about this live stream, tell them about the channel so they can come and join the community and learn and improve from each other here during these live streams and in our little community. So thank you so much. Yeah, I wish you a wonderful weekend. Have a great next week. Don't miss the video on Tuesday. It's going to be a in-depth dive into the new UvaCam app, explaining you all the different features and talking about my favorite features of the UvaCam app. So don't miss that one. That's going to come out on Tuesday if you haven't seen it yet. And that's it. Have an awesome week, guys. Keep capturing all those amazing underwater adventures of yours. And I will see you in the next live stream on February 28th. Thank you, guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.